Hello everyone, and welcome back to this corner of New Eridu. Deadly Assault boss family has a new rival, Miasmic Fiend. Let's take a look at her mechanics and moveset to increase our scores. Miasmic Fiend's kit has less long predictable strings of attacks that some other bosses do. Instead, she builds her combos on the go by combining short, distinctive attacks. First such attack is a parryable slash in an X-shaped form. Second is a parryable lunge forward. Third is a parryable slash with a sneaky follow-up that doesn't have a flash, but surely deals damage on its own. Fourth is a dodgeable only attack in which Miasmic Fiend throws a couple of polearms from above her head. Fifth is two parryable circular attacks with a relatively large radius. Finally, a parryable retreat in which Miasmic Fiend jumps back. These attacks are strung together by the boss in chains from 1 to 4 in a row. While there are no hard rules, the chain will often start with lunge or a slash, and will often end with one of the following: X-shaped attack, retreat, or circular pair of attacks. Dodgeable polearm throw is the most flexible, and Miasmic Fiend can perform it at any point of her chain. Speaking of this throw, agents equipped with Evasive assist instead of a defensive one are capable of evading this attack and will get priority if they are off-field when you press assist during the golden flash. But other Fiend's attacks can be evaded too, even when you don't want to. So, if you happen to bring an agent with Evasive assist into the fight, remember to choose a direction for parrying manually, to better control which agent gets to use their assist. Additionally, Miasmic Fiend has two powerful attacks that don't have any flash indicators. Both of these attacks start with a preparation that gives you some time to differentiate between them. For the first attack, the Fiend starts with a screech and proceeds with throwing 5 polearms into the ground. Shortly after, the polearms will burst once and then disappear. There are two moments in this sequence where you can take damage. First, when the polearms hit the ground, and then during the burst. Second powerful attack starts with a brassy sound, after which Miasmic Fiend performs big circular attack, slits the floor, and then creates bursts in a line along the slit. There are 3 points in this attack where you can take damage. Firstly, during the circular slash. Secondly, when the Fiend slits the ground. And lastly, during finishing bursts. Miasmic Fiend has a special stage in the fight, during which you can earn performance points. After about a minute and 15 seconds, Miasmic Fiend jumps up a wall and gains Miasmic Shield. She will expend this shield on throwing swords at your position, creating miasma pools. You will need to cover them with a red circle on the ground that detonates them after the inner circle expands. This sequence is repeated 3 times, starting with 5 pulls and increasing by 1 each time, up to 7. You gain 1700 points for successfully clearing at least 5 pulls at once, without taking damage during the cleaning. You will still get points if you got hit by the sword thrown by the Fiend, but won't get points if you get hit by either the detonation or the following burst that happens at pool's disappearance. Wait until the inner circle will have almost filled the outer one, then dodge out of miasma pool's area entirely to avoid getting hit by the burst too. While practicing, I've discovered an interesting hack. If you switch agents when the inner circle just starts growing, the detonation will self-navigate to the center of the battlefield. You can take advantage of it by luring the swords into the center, and then using this technique to escape all subsequent damage. However, it's unclear if it's a feature or a bug, so it's still better to practice dodging both detonation and small bursts in case it gets patched. Upon returning to the battlefield, Miasmic Fiend will launch a large AoE attack that deals big damage. It is undodgeable, so here are a couple of other ways to escape it. First, you can just run out of the area of attack indicated by the large circle on the ground. Secondly, you can utilize invincibility frames in some agents' kits. For example, Vivian or Yuzuha can parry this attack fully using their X specials. What happens if you leave some pulls behind? Miasmic Fiend will absorb them to refill her Miasmic Shield, postponing the moment at which you can start dealing substantial damage to her again. At this point, you have encountered Miasmic Shield several times, but in case you need a refresh, let's quickly go through ways of depleting it. Miasmic Fiend has a slight buff to the shield reduction. Normally, it depletes naturally for about 1% per second. In case of Miasmic Fiend, it's just slightly less than that. Ultimate is the most effective way of dealing with the shield, being able to clear 25% of it. Agent specialty doesn't matter. Stunners and supports ultimates are just as effective as DPS agents. But since clearing the shield refunds energy to your agents anyway, you might opt for keeping your support's ultimate for later, as to not overfill on the energy. After ultimates come defensive and evasive assist follow-ups, with roughly 10% of efficiency for both, followed by dodge counters, clearing about 8%. Anomaly attributes, X specials, quick assists, and disorders are way less effective when it comes to dealing with the shield. In addition to taking a lot less damage when protected by the shield, Miasmic Fiend can execute 2 previously shown powerful attacks on the spot, without any preparation. So you would want to get rid of the shield as fast as possible. If you clear Miasmic Pool successfully, then the remaining shield can be removed pretty fast, with 1 ultimate and 1 dodge or assist follow-up. Miasmic Fiend is weak to physical and ether attributes, and is resistant to fire. Weaknesses and resistances affect not only the damage, but also anomaly buildup and days dealt by agents of these attributes. With 40% fire resistance, it's really not recommended to bring fire agents to fight this boss. Miasmic Fiend has pretty typical for a boss 12-second stun duration, but only 125% stun damage multiplier, the smallest one so far. For this boss, you are heavily incentivized to use anomaly teams. In addition to smaller stun damage multiplier, which anomaly teams tend to care less about, in the battle each time an anomaly attribute is applied, Miasmic Fiend gains a stack that increases next anomaly damage, up to 48%. The stacks are cleared upon Fiend exiting the shielded state, so try to feed at least 6 anomaly triggers before the next stun, to take advantage of all damage bonuses, even the small ones. Since anomaly application is harder to just hold on to, try to end the shielded stage as soon as possible, since you risk triggering attributes and disorders during it, losing out on the damage. With physical and ether weaknesses, we can safely say that Jane, Vivian, and Alice are the most valuable agents when dealing with this boss. During my testing, I've also tried Viper as a driver, but with several free-to-play teams, I was only able to get close to 2 stars, even when fully respecting attribute weaknesses. Replacing Pulchra for Yutsuha on Kabom the Cannon, however, immediately elevates team's damage, allowing you to 3-star the boss in a 1-cost team. What team have you tried against Miasma Fiend, and how were your results? Please leave your answer down in the comments. I hope that you have found this video helpful, and I will see you soon. Bye bye!